A very good evening to you all and welcome to News Tonight. It is a Thursday, the 16th day of November 2017. Jonan Opori will be joining me shortly on the sign language desk, and I am Edward Rukidi Kijanangoma. Let's get started straight away. Now, hearing of the case in which the National Organization of Trade Unions is challenging the legality of doctors' strike has failed to kick off. Now, this was after the legal team of the respondents in this case, the Uganda Medical Association, requested for some time to file their response. Dr. Shimono reports.
The legal team representing Uganda Medical Association has requested for more time to prepare their response in a case that was filed against them early in the week.
Filing a defense yafe naye tutwabaderede kubanga jo twabade mu meeting ne select committee ya government nolwecho twasabye court adjournment encha to filing Monday next week tuja kuberanga tulirede to dem court.
Chemist Swaib, one of the defense lawyers, says his team only learned of the case yesterday, the 15th of November, and as such they were not ready for the hearing.
Koti yasazewo nti baba we olunaku lwaleero n'enkya babere nga batekayo kwegamba kye basuubira tibandibadde bawaayo oba defense yaabwe.
According to the complainant in the case, National Organization of Trade Union sued the doctors who are currently on a sit-down strike for holding an illegal industry action. The defense team representing the striking doctors includes Nicholas Opio, Lord Silas Rwakafuzi, Chemist Oswa Ibrayan, among others. Court resumes on 20th November for hearing of the case. Bernard Yiga and Dokas Kimono, UBC.
Now let's go to our lead story, and that is about the crisis in Zimbabwe, where the accusing fingers have continued to point at Grace Mugabe as the center for the crisis in Zimbabwe. Now the latest to sound this is President Mugabe's nephew, Shalom Mazowe, who has been living in Uganda since 1956. He urged Mugabe to denounce his wife for the stability of Zimbabwe and Africa in general.
81-year-old Shelton Mazowe vividly remembers voting for Robert Mugabe in 1980 as the country got independence. Mazowe, who says he's Mugabe's nephew, remembers the man who fought for the freedom of his countrymen and women.
The whites in Southern Africa, especially South Africa and Zimbabwe, they take us as if we're not human beings. They mistreat us. That is why Mugabe had to take our arms and start fighting them.
Even when he's not impressed by the events in his home country, he thinks the direction the army took is right.
These soldiers who have taken over, I think they are right. Because a woman who never fought, who was just a secretary and was made a wife by the president, and then she wants to be above the people who fought for the independence of Zimbabwe and disorganize the whole party.
He points accusing fingers at Grace Mugabe, the First Lady, whom he accuses of greed, something he says could plunge the country into chaos.
According to what I know, I may be wrong, Mugabe got married to a Ghanaian woman, Mrs. Sari, who died. Then he loved Grace, his present wife. And I think she's the one who's messed him up. He's not a bad man. But Grace is, I think she's disorganized him.
How?
Well, how can she want to be a president when she was just a typist? Just because the man loved him and she wants to be a president. I think that's why this whole problem comes from.
Mazowe, a musician from Zimbabwe, came to Uganda on a music tour in 1956 and only went back to vote in 1980 when the country got independence. His concerns come at a time President Mugabe is reportedly under house arrest, with solutions from across the world being suggested to the crisis. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Thanks, Henry, for that report there. Now, news, Justin, is that Uganda is hosting an East African Microfinance Summit that is aimed at promoting digital financial inclusion in the region. The Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kaseja, says the two-day summit that has been organized by the East African Microfinance Network will attract participants from all East African countries. We have more in this report.
An old man in Kabale saved his 500,000 shillings. Then some fellow came and said, oh, and he's known, you know, we operate a savings scheme. Can we take that money? These fellows disappeared with that 500,000.
Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kaseja, has advised financial institutions to guard against cybercrime as they embark on digital financing. Kaseja, who represented Premier Dr. Hakanargunda at the East African Microfinance Summit 2017 at Hotel Africana Kampala, said digital financial inclusion is a good product, though it is prone to cyber hackers.
Continuously modernize. You know, this technology is not standing still. Every day there is something new that is coming. So two things: have the right character, the right personnel running the system, but also ensure that you are modernizing so that you are not left behind.
Kaseja urged Ugandans to take leave of politicking and time wasting and take advantage of the good weather and natural endowments to invest in agriculture and mining to become prosperous.
Here in Uganda, we are determined and we are working cautiously not to create this difference between the haves and the have-nots, as I've seen in other parts of the world. The haves are there, the don't haves, they are there. That's a recipe for instability in society.
The Special Economic Advisor to the Minister of Finance, Wilson Twamhawe, said Uganda was chosen to host the two-day regional summit because of its advancement in digital financing within the region. Twamhawe, who is also the President Association of Microfinance Institutions of Uganda, said they are strongly insured against hackers and cyber criminals.
Most people are fearing to start branches because of the operational cost. But through the digital financing, people in rural areas can be served and they can do banking. So that's why we chose the topic. And coming to Uganda, it was an agreement where the other countries of South Africa said Uganda should host. Because another reason why it was chosen for Uganda, we have the most developed microfinance system.
The two-day summit is running under the theme Digital Financial Inclusion. A reflection on the perspective and challenges for various stakeholders was also addressed by Microfinance Minister Haruna Kasolo Cheyune and experts in the sector. Mutonyi Hilda and Deo Habimana, UBC.
Now let's go back to that story that's making headlines, and of course that is the doctors' strike. Fortunately, Ugandans probably will have a sigh of relief because Uganda People's Defence Forces will deploy 10 doctors in Mlango Hospital to support in emergencies. The UPDF spokesperson, Brigadier General Richard Kalemire, says it follows a statement from the Ministry of Health to have UPDF support in this period when health workers are having an industrial action. Now, UBC TV moved to various hospitals to assess the situation, as we hear from our reporter, Farida Nafka.
The situation in government hospitals has not changed ever since government requested doctors from Uganda People's Defence Forces to provide support, since doctors have refused to stop the industrial action. At Mulago National Referral Hospital, people held mixed reactions over deploying UPDF in hospitals. While at Chirudu, patients say they have not yet seen UPDF doctors on duty but they come on appointment of their special doctor.
Moyo mulungi naye kati abasirikale bo bamanyi byayo bya tebasasula basawo ne babawa ebintu bya nebikozi ba mudwali bena tebiri tebirimu kati bina tebirimu bo abasirikale banakozesa ki Den Museveni adira amaje gonna gajje malwaliro gonna bana abasawo basoke bakendeze ku mpisa embizi
sanze wasikali ali mukina uniform kya busina mu yaso gwenda mbera okusinzira nti abasawo basomerera kuyamba abantu tebandisudde wansi mukola kugenda kukola kikwekalakasa lwansonga basomerera kuyamba bulamu bwabwe.
The UPDF spokesperson, Brigadier General Richard Kalemeire, says although they have a small number of doctors, they cannot leave patients to die.
I think there's an emergency situation that calls for us to help. Subsequently, we'll be deploying a couple of doctors. They won't be very many, probably around 10 in the Mulago hospital. These are definitely better than nothing. Our up-country units also that have medical workers will be called upon also to step up the usual medical support they've always given to the wananchis.
The meeting between Uganda Medical Association and Government Committee has not yielded positive results. The doctors now plan to have talks with Cabinet, Prime Minister and State House as they continue to provide emergency and surgical services.
Members not to vacate the hospital, the government premises, meaning houses and offices yet, not to return any vehicle yet. And since we have likely going to resume talks with government, we have also contacted our lawyers on the same, our legal brigade, to help give us a legal advice. So reminded and applauded the senior house officers who are Special Forces Command to continue providing emergency medical care. And of course, our most junior officers, junior house officers who are the intern doctors, we are also happy that they will support the emergency care teams.
Meanwhile, Obuku urges medical workers to welcome the reinforcement of UPDF and private facilities to waiver consultation fees for patients. I'm Nafka Farida and Gloria Gwetabenji reporting.
And we do hope that, of course, government will see to those striking doctors to come up with a solution so that Ugandans can actually get medical help from those professionals. Moving on now, Amanya Mushege and Dr. Tanga Odoi, who both are professors, are divided over amendment of Article 102B of the Constitution to lift presidential age limit. Now, Amanya Mushege, who is a former Secretary General of the East African Community, objects, urging that it was placed in the Constitution to prevent a leader from clinging on to power. Meanwhile, another historian, also chairman, NRM Electoral Commission, Dr. Tanga Odoi, okays the lifting of the age limit, saying a leader's age has never been Uganda's problem.
Appearing before the Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee, the senior citizen Right Colonel Professor Amanya Mushege objected to the lifting of the presidential age limit.
Constitutions are made to stand the test of time and challenges and not be changed casually.
Amanya, who has been in different leadership positions in the country, including a member of Constituency Assembly, which debated the 1995 Constitution, says upper limit of 75 for presidents was positioned in the Constitution to bar presidents from overstaying in power.
It was to prevent the repetition of the past reoccurring again, and to immunize the leaders from being infected by the State House virus that affects the occupants with appetite for power and overstay.
Contrary to other opinions and arguments before the committee, Amanya says the amendment aims at benefiting few individuals.
When you say, is this bill political or legal, it is primarily political.
On the other hand, a historian, also chairman NRM Electoral Commission, Dr. Tanga Odoi, okays the lifting of the age limit, saying age of a leader has never been Uganda's problem.
Capping what the history of the country has been and seeing where it has gone and seeing the necessity of an amendment. There's that argument, why do you remove age limit now? This is where Parliament has the most reserved right to amend or not to amend.
He cited examples of former presidents who were less than 70 years in whose era Uganda had experienced challenges.
Whether one is a youth or an elder beyond 70 years is not a major political issue, but the level of ideological preparedness of such a person to me is. Sir Edward Mutesa, the first president of Uganda, was about 38 years. Milton Obote, the executive prime minister, born in 1925, was only 37. Others like Chabazinga Wilberforce Nadiope, the vice president in 1963, Adoko Lechon was 28, and Army Commander Shabano Polot and Idi Amin were all young people, and Idi Amin was 37 years. These were wonderful youth with energized political courage. These leaders could not overcome their personal and party political difference for the sake of Uganda's stability.
Tanga further says that countries are developed on ideology and plans, regardless of how old the leader may be.
But it's also important to take in retrospect what the Constitution says in preamble about the history of the country where these constitutional changes are taking place, and to ask oneself whether we have had constitutional political collapse from 1986 to now, when someone comes as a young leader of 41 and is reaching 70 years, or we had more of this collapse and historically when we had young leaders and a nascent state with a good population and an economy which they could have helped to become take to the takeoff stage.
Bella Masangano and Philip Aguta.
Divergent views there from two professors, of course, in as far as the age limit is concerned. News Tonight will take a short break, but we'll return with much more. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the short break, and this is News Tonight, and a warm welcome to those of you just joining us, and we'll continue with our news now. And it's good news that is coming in right now because Uganda has been scraped off the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force International Review Group after its successful efforts towards controlling money laundering. Now, the Financial Action Task Force International Review Group is an organization that ensures that all economies of the world put in place mechanisms to control illicit money. Now, addressing a news conference at the Media Center here in Kampala, Minister for Finance, Matia Kasaija, said passing of the anti-money laundering law of 2013 controlled illicit money in the country.
Uganda has been commended by the Financial Action Task Force International Review Group for putting in place the legal framework to control money laundering. The Financial Action Task Force International Review Group is an organization that ensures that all economies of the world put in place mechanisms to control illicit money. Minister for Finance, Matia Kasaija, says the anti-money laundering law of 2013 created confidence in Uganda's economy by the international community and investors.
This implies that Uganda's financial system is now robust enough to adequately identify and address all money laundering activities and financing of terrorism risks, which now eases correspondent banking. You have heard about it. It eases correspondent banking and other investment and financial flows with the rest of the world.
The passing of the anti-laundering law led the establishment of the Money Intelligence Authority. However, The authority can only monitor money that has passed through the banking system, leaving other sectors vulnerable to money laundering, like the real estate.
But where money, illicit money, let's do that word, illicit money, it does not come through the banking system. There are other institutions that handle that. If, for example, we came to smell of a corruption case of some money that is being floated around which has been obtained illegally, then we flag this information. We've told you we are working very closely with intelligence.
The Acting Director, Economic Affairs in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, Moses Kagwa, says Land Registry and Uganda Registration Services Bureau will also check money laundering.
We are strengthening the land registry to make sure that they look at these suspicious transactions. Because if you come and you have bought property of 1 billion shillings, we'll have to know where the source of income is. And if you can't explain it, then the registration may not take place.
It is crucial that money laundering is checked because if it is left to thrive, it can lead to the collapse of the economy and promote evil acts like terrorism. Adia Nakuti compiled the story for UBC.
From Kampala, let's go to Pakwash now and look at the cotton sector. And they say that cotton was one of the most famous cash crops in Uganda at the time of independence before being abandoned by farmers for quick and maturing crops. However, following a presidential directive to Uganda prisons to have the crop reviewed, Lagem Prison Farm in Pakwach district took on the test. Now, Emmanuel Nwagaba, the officer in charge, says last year's proceeds amounted to non-taxable revenue of 137 million shillings, as we hear in this report.
Off Pakwach town, in the West Nile region, is Lagem Prison, which accommodates between 400 to 500 inmates. They have been key in growing cotton. They converge for deployment at the farm for the harvest. The revival of cotton growing is a presidential directive whose implementation is being done by Uganda prisons.
This environment is one of the most ideal for cotton because it has sandy soils and then the heat is so favorable.
They have since increased the cotton farm to 400 acres in 2017, targeting a harvest of 240 tons.
Only that we have been interrupted by sunshine, we are expecting to generate about 240 tons. So if we generate 240 tons, if you do some mathematics, the current price is 1,650 shillings per kilo.
But what does it take to have successful growth of cotton in this area? Is the process just like for any other crop? The answer is both in the affirmative and not.
Like this year we had a lot of pests, we had a lot of rain. Whenever you spray, these chemicals we use are like contact chemicals. So if after spraying it has rained, you have to repeat.
Yeah, in this place we grow a variety of cotton called Satu, which is Serere Aruba type, Uganda. And it is the variety that tolerates our environmental conditions.
So we have sprayed about 10 times, rounding all the blocks, all the 400 acres.
Inmates provide the main source of labor, which makes it easy for this cotton to be maintained up to harvesting time. But whether these prisoners also benefit in any way is a question they can best answer for themselves.
Ebintu byonna bibeera mu layini, tubisimba mu layini. Omuguweeri neeno ne tujja nga tusima mu layini. Era n'oba otuuseyo mu ssamba olaba nga pamba waffe ali mu layini. Kale ne kituwa amagezi n'okuyiga nti oba ovudde wano bw'oboze ebweru olina naawe osobola okubaako kyeweekoleranga bino by'omulimi ate ne tuwulira nti era beeyi ya pamba si teri wansi.
Lagem Government Prison was opened in 1976 in the present-day Pakwach district in West Nile as a central prison sitting on 800 acres of land. Farming is the main economic activity, with onions, tomatoes and sunflower grown on small scale. Cotton takes almost 50% of the farmland. Henry Okrut, UBC.
From Pakwach, let's go to Barra now, where the National Social Security Fund has commissioned the construction of a 4 billion shillings ultra-modern multi-purpose commercial building in Barara municipality. Now, the new development by the pension fund has excited the local leaders and residents who feel the increased capital-intensive projects and investments in the town and its suburbs would enable the promotion of the town to SCT status. Here is our reporter, Dennis Sigoa, with more.
Mbarara municipality is the fastest growing urban center in the country and across the East African region. In the recent past, the town has seen an influx of capital-intensive investments. The public and private sector are all eyeing Mbarara in the expansion strategy, and the residents are excited.
We've seen so many projects coming up, the Northern Bypass, all the projects are coming up, the distribution companies, the construction companies, everyone is running to Mbarara. So I think in the next 5 years, Mbarara is going to be a city like Kampala.
The Managing Director, National Social Security Fund, Richard Byarugaba, says the 4 billion shillings ultra-modern multi-purpose commercial building is the first of its kind in Western Uganda.
Is going to be a 4-story, 1,500 square meter property. It's going to be a retail, commercial area, offices and shops.
Mr. Luke, you know this thing, huh? Yes. When completed in 2018, the building is expected to earn substantial revenue to the pension fund.
We are quite excited about the prospect of creating jobs for our country, diversifying our portfolio so that we can give a good return to our members. Our expected rate of return on this project is about 20%, and this will be passed on to our members as a benefit into their accounts every year.
Robert Kachebezi, the mayor of Mbarara municipality, says the dream of Mbarara municipality attaining the city status is drawing closer by the day, and this is illustrated by the increased investment in the area.
One of the requirements for the city, there are some of these structures. So when we have more of them, there is no question, because the answer will already be there. The investments, the beautiful structures, the roads and everything. And even now what we are looking at is the population. And therefore now I call upon for more investors to come.
Other projects currently being developed by the fund include a commercial building in Jinja, a housing project in Buya, Kampala, and the recently 2,741 unit high-end housing project in Loboa. Dennis Igoa for UBC News in Mbarara.
World News is next after this short break. Back, and let's move further afield when we go to Zimbabwe, where South African government ministers are in Harare for crisis talks with ousted President Robert Mugabe and military leaders who have seized control. Now, they are trying to reach a deal on the future of Zimbabwe and the man who has led the country for 37 years and is now under house arrest. Now, the talks are being led by the Southern African Development Community, SADC. Zimbabwe's opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai has said Mr. Mugabe must resign. Sources suggest Mr. Mugabe may be resisting pressure to step down, insisting he remains the legitimate president. The head of the African Union, Guinean President Alpha Conde, has also warned the AU will in no case accept the military seizure of power. He said he was inviting the army to return to its barracks and return to constitutional order. Now, last week, Mugabe came down in favor of his wife, sacking Mr. Mnangagwa, a veteran of Zimbabwe's anti-colonial struggle. Military leaders seized control of the country on Wednesday, putting Mr. Mugabe under house arrest. A Roman Catholic priest known to him for many years, Father Fidelis Mukonori, is trying to mediate a deal on his future with the military. On to the DRC now, where civil society organizations in Goma have called for a general strike in protest of the National Elections Commission's schedule ahead of the upcoming elections in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Now, for fear of any chaos in the country, MONUSCO's Force Commander General Derek Ngwembe has flown to monitor the situation and protect civilians. We have more in this report.
MONUSCO's Force Commander General Derek Ngwembe is in the Democratic Republic of Congo to monitor the situation ahead of the national elections. This follows threats by the civil society organizations to go on the streets, protesting the National Elections Commission's schedule ahead of the upcoming elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. David Jonathan from Civil Society Movement in Goma tried to lead a demonstration in the city street, but was tear-gassed, failing the demonstration. Now, as per the UN mission, their mandate is to ensure peace by protecting civilians. Police has been deployed in town to avoid any gatherings.
The security forces of this country are responsible for the protection of the people and maintenance of law and order. But we are also at least have to monitor the developments so that if something untoward happens, we are able at least to understand before it happens and we can prevent it from happening. And if it is happening, we must stop it.
Shops as well as some schools and offices remain closed and few people are on the streets. Mtonyi Hilda, UBC News.
To South Sudan now, where members of the Nepalese formed police unit have been honored for their service to the United Nations mission in South Sudan. The officers from Nepal, the central Himalayan country, dedicated 12 months to protecting South Sudan civilians and building durable peace in the conflict-ridden country. Hilda Mutonyi continues.
A Nepalese police unit has been commended for their service to the conflict-affected South Sudan for the last 1 year. The police officers from the central Himalayan country, known as the home of Mount Everest, dedicated the past 12 months to protecting civilians and building durable peace in South Sudan. The ceremony was graced by Nepalese formed police unit commanding officer Harishandra Adhikari.
On this occasion, I would like to acknowledge and praise all of my fellow officers for their hard work, dedication, and sincerity even in the difficulty, risky, and unpredictable situation. Similarly, I acknowledge and appreciate the support rendered by all the stakeholders in operational, logistical, and administrative front that directly or indirectly enabled us to achieve the mandated tasks.
Nepal is the 6th largest troop contributing country, with over 100,000 Nepalese serving in peacekeeping missions around the world. There are 2,000 uniformed personnel from Nepal serving in South Sudan, with 320 forming part of the police unit, including 27 female officers. Their efforts to protect civilians seeking sanctuary in camps next to UN bases in the capital Juba and the town of Bor in the Jonglei region were recognized at a special ceremony.
You have worked under very stressful conditions, in difficult situations, away from your family and your friends. And I would like to acknowledge some of those people who sustained personal injury as part of the duty and the work in the POC sites in particular.
David Shearer said the firm and fairer policing shown has been extremely important because it has maintained their own standards and set a positive example to the people of South Sudan about the way that policing should be carried out. Each police officer received the UN medal for their service along with warm praise for their contribution. It was a special moment for those who have served.
I feel very proud because I am as a peacekeeper here, so I help many IDPs here and support them also. So I feel I have success in my mission here, so I feel great, proud and feel very good and happy too. Thank you.
The officers celebrated their special moment in style, giving dignitaries and fellow police officers a taste of Nepalese culture before receiving a final word of thanks from the head of mission for their efforts. Mutonyi Hilda, UBC News.
Brought to you by
UBC Sport now, and we begin with local football, where the Vice President Edward Kiwanuka Sekandi has launched Buganda Football Strategic Plan 2018-2021 that's aimed at promoting and improving football activities within Buganda region. Now, while launching the strategic plan at Serena Kampala Hotel, the Vice President said that government is working with stakeholders to support sports in the country.
Launching the strategic plan at Serena Kampala Hotel today, Vice President Edward Kiwanuka Sekandi said that although football sport in Uganda is faced with challenges, government is working with stakeholders to ensure that the sport gets the support it deserves. The Vice President said that in the past, football was looked at only in terms of entertainment and fitness, adding that football today is one of the major socio-economic activity and foreign earner for many countries, providing employment to various categories of those involved, including players, officials, and support services.
Sirina kuwananya nti tegekayo etuwa essuubi n'obuvumu okwanganga ebizibu ebisibye enteekateeka z'okutambula omupiira mu Buganda ne Uganda. Nziramu okuyozaayoza Obwakabaka okukola enteekateeka eno ey'okutumbula omupiira naddala mu kaseera kano obubone bulaga bulungi nti Uganda esobolera ddala okuvuganya ku mitendera gyonna egy'omupiira okutuukira ddala kikopo ky'ensi yonna.
He therefore commended Buganda government for the initiative, which he said will go a long way in identifying talent, promoting and improving the football sport in Buganda, and pledged government commitment in working with Buganda Kingdom to advance the sport. The Katikkiro of Buganda, Peter Charles Mayiga, said that among other things, the football strategy is to form decisions to be taken by the Kingdom in administration and promotion of the football sport as one way of invoking Buganda glory.
Enteekateeka nnamutaayi eno ey'omupiira ejja kutuyamba okuzuula ebitone by'abavubuka. Twagala okufuna ensamba z'omupiira n'obukama bw'ebunyoro n'obukama bw'ettoolo, obusoga, Acholi, West Nile. Omuzannyo guleeta mu bantu omwoyo gw'okutegeeragana n'okwagalana.
The Katikkiro said that the strategic committee will work with the stakeholders and corporate entities in ensuring that the football sport is well managed and facilitated to the befitting endorsement of Buganda Kingdom and the sponsors. Etole Ed Archangel, UBC News.
Rugby news now, and having had a successful international rugby competitions in the African Championship, with Uganda defending the Africa Sevens title and finishing third in the 15th Rugby Afrique tie, Uganda Rugby has now concentrated on the Nile Special Rugby League season 2017-2018. Rugby fans will this weekend be thrilled to rugby action when Uganda's Super 8 clubs tussle it out for the league title. Helen Jizamba Sandra reports.
Uganda Rugby Union released the 2017-2018 fixture, which will kick-start tomorrow, with teams speaking big and hoping to dethrone defending champions Hima Cement Heathens. Pirates head coach Bobby Musinguzi hopes that his team will replicate the same form, having finished second in the 2015-2016 season and hoping to take the title this time round.
We have changed the structure. We have just developed it a bit, try to play a more expansive game. that we believe will get us to where we want to go. We're not so blessed to have the big guys on our team. So the few who are there, we want to use them to see that we play quite an expansive game.
Pirates center Isaac Massa believes his team is intensifying drills and his teammates are not settling for less, but rather take the trophy.
Very agile and fast players. We do not play a lot of contact, so we try as much as possible to run the ball wide. So the fitness levels are being checked.
Betway Cobs finished third last season. However, Captain Brian Asava says they're giving no room to losing points this time round. He adds that they are working on their slippery defense to outplay Makere-based Rams tomorrow.
What has been key in our training sessions, what I've been trying to emphasize is play rugby for 80 minutes. Let's not play rugby for 40 minutes. Going to the Rams game, we know they are very slippery side. If you let them go, they can easily win the game. So we are going to, of course, take it as a game, one step at a time, work through our structures, work through everything we've worked through training and implement it on game day. And yeah, hopefully after 80 minutes we'll have something to smile about.
In other games, Heathens will travel to Dam Waters to face off Ginger Hippos. Warriors will play Rimla Rhinos. While in the Rugby University League, UCU play Mobs. Uganda Matters tussle it out with Nkozi, while Busoga University head to KIU. For UBC, Helen Barbara, Jizamba.
Let's look at basketball now, where national basketball playoff action resumes Friday with 3 games expected at the MTN Arena, Lugogo. In the women's category, JKL Lady Dolphins return against Uganda Christian University Lady Cannons for Game 3 in this evenly poised tie that is level at 1-1. The other women's game, Kampala Capital City Authority Leopards entertains A1 challenge, knowing that victory will secure passage to the finals. In the men's category, the Kampala International University Titans and Pemba Warriors best of 5 semi-final series is level at 1-1 with all still to play for. Meanwhile, Buganda Kingdom has started strategies to enhance sports activities in Central Region. During a brief meeting, the Katikiro of Buganda, Charles Peter Maega, and other Buganda delegates said sports helps identify talent and can also be a source of income. The Katikiro added that the Kingdom considers sports as a source of tourism and development.
The Buganda Kingdom Football Strategic Plan is intended to explore all ways of developing the beautiful game of football, specifically within the young people. As you may find out after reading the plan, it lays down the methods of identifying talent throughout the kingdom, promoting the discovered talent, and administering the sport. The strategic plan also explores ways of fostering unity within the people of Buganda first, and ultimately within the country.
To be number one is making the statutes for the football associations of Buganda, because the statutes will usher us in the management of the game, the sustainability, and how it will close.
Buganda Katikiro Peter Maega there emphasizing the importance of sports in not only nurturing a talent but also bringing people together. Let's look at international sport and of course turning our attention to the World Cup 2018 Russia qualifiers, and with about 8 months to next year's Football World Cup, all 32 teams to play at Russia 2018 are now known following the final round of qualifiers played over the last few days. Now, the final slot for the World Cup 2018 was taken by Peru that edged New Zealand in the Oceanic Commonwealth playoff. Now, both sides walked onto the pitch in Lima knowing that there was all to play for, having drawn the first leg in New Zealand 5 days ago. In a topsy-turvy affair, both teams created early chances, but it was the home side, Peru, that gained from incessant attacks with the Jefferson Farfan first half strike that he celebrated with tears of joy. Now, New Zealand's hearts were further broken in the second half when defender Christian Ramos benefited from laps New Zealand defending to seal the result. Now, this is Peru's first appearance at the World Cup since 1982 and has caused nationwide celebrations in the country, with Thursday declared a public holiday in memory of the feat. Now, Peru joins an elite list of World Cup qualifiers, including Egypt, Senegal, Tunisia, Morocco, Spain, Brazil, and Argentina, and defending champions Germany.
Brought to you by
We've finally come to the end of News Tonight, this Thursday, the 16th day of November 2017. Thank you so much for having kept us company. John Opori has been on sign language. And on behalf of the entire news crew this evening, I am Edward Rukidi Kijanangoma, wishing you a blessed night.